ではですね、パデンさんにね、1時間設けさせるためにですね、早めにちょっと説明だけ入りたいんですけども、皆さん、ズームをお使いになっている方たち、あるいは慣れている方たちもいると思いますが、少しだけご説明させていただきますね。ズームの方なんですけども、チャット機能がありまして、ラップトップ、デスクトップ使いの方は下の方にあるので、チャットを使って、会話をしていただければ、登壇中、あるいはプレゼンテーション後にですね、説明など、あるいは対応させていただきますので、なんかそういうコメントなどあれば、チャットを使っていただきたいと思います。そして、こちらのプレゼンテーション中、プレゼンテーションあるいはスライドみたいのはあるので、そちらがバーンって出てくるので、そちらも、皆さん、見ながら、パデンさんのお話を聞いていただければなと思います。そして、こちらの実際、ミーティング、ズームミーティングを使っているので、ギャラリーモードと、あと、なんていうんですかね、スピーカーモードっていうものがあるんですけども、スピーカーモードがあることによって、話してる人の画面がパッと出てくるので、登壇者の話は聞きやすいかと思ってますが、もちろんコミュニティ、皆さんと一緒に見る感じの方が好きなのであれば、ギャラリービューを使ってもよろしいかなと思っております。こちらのセッション、日本語となるんですけども、英語の対応ももちろんできますので、両方言語を使いながら進んでいきたいなと思います。パーマカルチャーの話はこちらからパデンさんに引き続きパスするので、これからよろしくお願いいたします。パデンさん、take it away. The stage is yours.
たくさんありがとうございました。皆さん、こんにちは。私はパトリック・パレンと申します。どうぞよろしくお願いします。じゃあ、スクリーンシェアをしたいです。はい。じゃあ、始まりましょう。じゃあ、私はアメリカ人で、コロラド州に住んでいます。今、朝早いのに、日本と話すととても嬉しいです。これは初めてこのトピックを日本語で説明することですから、一生懸命頑張ります。最初に、最初に日本の興味を説明したいです。日本3回行ったことがあります。1回目は、18歳の時、1ヶ月間ぐらい行って、JR パスを持っていて、ユースホストルで泊まって、国を見た。すごく楽しかった。で2回目は、留学するためでした。関西外国語大学で勉強しました。それは1年間ぐらいでした。で、大学に、じゃあエンジニアとして始まりましたけど、哲学専門に変わりました。で、やっぱり日本語も勉強しました。一番最近日本に行った時は2016年でした。でその時、行く目的は、自給自足のコミュニティを探して見ていることでした。ねで、大学院の学位はエコソーシャルデザインとパーマカルチャー。エコソーシャルデザインは人間と自然の関係についてです。で、パーマカルチャーは自給自足の形とデザインとやり方。例えば、動物を育つことですとか、野菜、食べ物を育つことです。その感じですね。で、もちろん、パーマカルチャーとエコソーシャルデザインは私の、発表の目的ですけど、このトピックより 僕のメッセージはちょっと違います。メッセージは、私たちは自然と同じように成長しなければなりません。だと思います。で、他の人の改善をつけるなら、社会も改善するでしょ。だからこれは、発表だけじゃなくて、これは、なんという、成長パーティー。It's like a growth party. We're all going to grow together. 一緒に成長しましょう。革新のプラトー現象を突破しましょう。Let's break through the innovation platform. じゃあ、一時的に学習効果が見られなくなります。見られなくなることがあります。誰もがこのプラト現象を経験します。ね。音楽家、外国語を習っている人も、東京カフェ、ベンチャーカフェの、なんていう、起業家、アントレプノーズも、このプラト現象を経験すると思います。でも、どうやって突破しますか？じゃあ、私にとって、10年前、答えを見つけました。26歳の時、南アフリカに行って、南アフリカの、天文台に行きました。あの時、このイメージを始めてみました。これは、木星と木星の、これ見えますか？これは木星の月で、月の影があります。これを見て感動しました。新しいパターンを分かるようになりました。じゃあ、次の日、I'm gonna stop sharing. じゃあ、次の日、バンジョーを弾きながら、聞いたことじゃなかったメロディは、指から来ました。びっくりしました。私のメロディーじゃなくて、新しいメロディーだった。で、天文台での経験と、新しい音楽と、可能性があるかなと思った。だから、その時、じゃあ、実験をすることにしました。で、実験は、最初に僕はジャグリングが大好きです。で、ジャグリングはよく、プラト現象は、コモンですね。で、あの時、私は4つが、頑張りましたけど、プラトーは3、4回だけでした。1、2、3でいつも失敗しました。でもね、経験、天文台の経験、ね、木星を見ると、木星の月と影、新しいパターンを見ると、私の頭に何かが、変わりました。 で、事件は、じゃあ、プラトーは、突破できるかなと思った。で、じゃあ、たくさんできました。その時。で、私は、あの経験のおかげだと思いました。ね、私の頭がちょっと、ちょっと待って、スクリーンシェアをしたいです。じゃあ、頭の中に何かが変わって、新しいmyelin. I had new neurons, new myelin. And it helped me, プラト現象を突破します。で、このままあなたたちも、革新のプラト現象を突破できます。いろいろな経験を探してください。自然と天国の星をよく見てください。新しいパターンを分かるようになってください。新しい楽器を習ってください。全部は頭にいいですね。そうすると頭が変わります。ね、見方や考え方が変われます。You can change your thinking, and when we change our thinking, we can break through plateaus. これは私のメッセージね。で、このパターンにして話したいです。このパターンは、なんていう、社会のプラトーです。これは悪いパターンですね。人口が、ちょっと待って、人々、ね、人間のせいで絶滅が多いですね。このイメージを見ると、絶滅がうなぎ登りします。ね。で、クライマットチェンジは大切なんですけど、絶滅は怖いだと思います。このパターン、we need to change this pattern. このパターンを変わらなければなりません。ですね。なんで人間のおかげのせいで絶滅が多いですか？じゃあ、このイメージを見ると、農業もロギングと、開発はこのパターン、実は人間の生き方のパターンは、it causes species loss. 大変ですね。どうしましょうか？ What should we do? 竜は、これは普通のパターンですね。世界にこれは普通のパターン。ね。枯渇して、消費して、汚染して、することにします。ね。それは普通のパターン。で、このパターンのせいで、この絶滅が起こります。大変ですね。やっぱり、このままですね。じゃあ、we can do better. We can do better. こうすると、デザート、なんというデザート、砂漠を作ります。これも大変だと思います。ね、じゃあ、答えは何ですか？ What's the answer? Right? じゃあ、パーマカルチャーは自然と同じように、it makes the provisions we need. 例えば森は自分の肥料が作ります。ね、森は汚染を引き起こさない。ね、 パーマカルチャーシステムは自然も人間と一緒にこのまま生きた方がいいと思います。It's a good way to live like this. で、パーマカルチャーはビル・モーリソンとデイビッド・ホームグレンが、始まりました。パーマカルチャーはpermanent と culture の言葉です。permanent は、なんていう、永久な。で、culture は agriculture も、でも人間 culture also ね、文化。So permanent 文化。Right? このイメージ、これは permanent じゃない。ね、we cannot do this forever. でもパーマカルチャーは cultivated ecosystem. We're designing ecosystems to meet and provide for our needs. パーマカルチャーは様々サイズがあります。これ、バルコニー。ね、庭。これも庭ですね。このような、このシステムは、it's good for the earth and good for the people. ほら、これはあと5年ぐらい。これ5年前ですね。これは人のおかげですね。This is thanks to people, right? これ before ね。最初で、あと5年。すごいいい、目的、the purpose to be a human and leave this in our wake. ね。あなたのおかげで木が多いとか空気が、きれい、ね。人のおかげでできますよ。パーマカルチャーの方がいいですね。じゃあコミュニティもパーマカルチャーができます。例えばこれはコミュニティ、intentional community で、湖についてちょっと話したい。このコミュニティのデザインはとても頭が良かった。ね、水は雨が降るとき、水は集まって、で、このプランツに、あげます。ごめん、僕の日本語はちょっとでもすごいこれはいいでしょ。で、雨が少ないところでも、雨が多いところもいいですよ。これ普通のパターン。ね、雨が降って全部は道に行きます。でもこれは問題がありますね。If you do this, it makes downstream water more and it can flood. 東京の雨水、何と言います？ What is rainwater? No, 雨。We'll just call it 雨。So, this is the pattern. And it exists in Colorado, it exists in Tokyo. And this, これは悪いパターンです。これ、プラトー現象です。We need to break through this because このパターンは悪いです。It makes more pollution, more water, and it's no good. This is the better. これはもうちょっといい形ですね。雨が土に行きます。このままですね。これはいいですね。道からの雨はここに入って、この木 の世話します。で、そのところは木だけじゃなくて、いろいろなプランツと一緒に育った方がいいでしょ。関係が多い。And it makes it とても強い。Right? It makes the system very strong and resilient to pests. And このままこの形は一番いいだと思います。で、これもフードフォレストね。食べ物の森。で、これは僕のイノベーション。僕の、ビジネスは、ランスケープデザイン、パーマカルチャーデザインと作り方です。そして、これは私のイノベーション。ね、雨をよく使う。デザインに、食べ物を使って、木も動物、全部、自給自足のためですね。これとてもシンプルパターンですね。雨が降って、でこのままして、雨を集めて、土、you can build the soil. ね、このまま、we can save the planet. ですね。でもね、じゃあ、パーマカルチャーは土と木についてだけじゃなくて、パーマカルチャーはたくさんですね。結構大きな、トピックでしょ。じゃあ、土地管理も、建築も、教育も、道具、トゥーズとテクノロジーね。金融と経済学、土地証券、全部が必要。全部がいるんですね。全部は、文化のために必要ですね。大切です。これパーマカルチャーでしょ。で、最近日本にいたとき、いろいろな自給自足のコミュニティに行きました。これは、一つのところですね。これは、このところは、何と言いますか、銀河のほとりというレストランと農業と家族。でこの家族は福島の近くに住んでいます。で、前の事故、原爆事故、ね、福島の事故の後、食べ物がちょっと、なんという汚くなった。The food became contaminated. Right? で、どうやって、体にいいかどうかわかる？あの人、これは、有馬さん。有馬さんは、いろいろな家族を手伝ってあげました。すごく優しい人。次は、これはこの花ファミリー。これは富士の近くにあるところ。で、全部、実はこの花ファミリーは 100% 自給自足。米も、塩じゃなくて、醤油。で、野菜、もちろん野菜、卵、全部育ちました。すごいびっくりしました。感動しました。この花ファミリー。でいつもやっぱりパーマカルチャーシステムに作ったら、やはり美味しい食べ物が食べられますね。このままですね。美味しそうですね。 It looks delicious ね。で、なんという。diversity は important ね。日本語では言葉がわからないけど、なんていう、いろいろなものは大切ですね。エコシステムに、diversity は大切です。でも、コミュニティにもいろいろなものが大切です。いろいろな人、ね。年寄りの人、若い人、農業が好き人、でも、なんという、教育が好き人、料理をする人が大切。みんなが大切ですね。だから、パーマカルチャーは、畑を耕すことだけじゃなくて、パーマカルチャーは生き方です。パーマカルチャーは考え方です。皆さんわかりますか？パーマカルチャー。わかるようになっていますか？じゃあ、I hope so。次には、これはこの花ファミリーの、子供たちですね。あとは、これは日本のパーマカルチャーセンターで、白良さんは日本のパーマカルチャーセンターの人です。もし日本に住んだら、パーマカルチャーの興味があったら、このところに行った方がいいだと思います。パーマカルチャーセンターは、富士の、ね、富士山のちょっと北の方と思います。やはり、コミュニティは食べ物と飲み物の、ものが大切ですね。僕もコミュニティに住んでいます。これは私のコミュニティ。これはコロラド州のラブランド、コロラド。でこれは私の家。This is my home. Sunrise Ranch。で、Sunrise Ranch で農業があるし、動物もあるし、でコミュニティは80人ぐらいです。これは、私の娘は一番左の方です。それはシャーロットです。娘。で、あとは、Farm Interns、ね。これは Sunrise Ranch の生活。ぜひ、日本人もこの Zoom コールに参加している人、ぜひ、連絡して、コロラドに来てください。ね、サンライズランチに見に来てください。もう一人は、この Zoom コールは、もう一人サンライズランチの人がいる。後で紹介するつもりです。Loveland, Colorado。ぜひ聞いてください。で、いろいろな、コース、授業。これはパーマカルチャーのデザインコースをあげます。デザインコースにはいろいろな、パーマカルチャーのやり方とか、デザイン、たくさんなられます。ね、これ、パーマカルチャークラス。2週間ぐらいかかります。で、後でパーマカルチャーデザインサーティフィケットを持っています。じゃあ、パーマカルチャー。Permaculture is a global movement that is providing solutions to many of the world's social and ecological challenges. Permaculture Action Day。これはパーマカルチャーパーティーですね。皆さんがサンライズランチに来て、一緒に パーマカルチャーシステムを作りました。とても楽しかったね。で世界に人気があるでしょ。いろいろなところはパーマカルチャーが見つけます。ビル・モリソン、ね、オーストラリアのビル・モリソンのおかげで、いろいろなところに行って、たくさん人、パーマカルチャーについて、教えてあげました。それは、1990年ぐらいでした。全部は英語の本ですけれども、皆さん、英語の本を読むかもしれません。でも日本語の書いてある本もあるに違いないですね。この次のスライドは英語だけですけど、これは、パーマカルチャーの、principles。全部、Yeah, I'll say this. じゃあ、ちょっと英語で説明するつもりですね。この真ん中には、care for the earth, fair share, care for people。これはパーマカルチャーの ethics。ethics は何て言う？毒と思います。一番大切な考え方。ね。care for the earth, care for the people, fair share。ね、で最後には、grow food。草じゃなくて、grow food、食べ物ですね。じゃあ、もっとスライドがあるけど、今、ストップシェアしたいし、で次に、質問とディスカッションをするつもりです。じゃあ、6時までありますけど、から、30分ぐらいディスカッションができます。じゃあ、最初に私の質問があります。皆さん、パーマカルチャーを聞いたことはありますか？
初めてでした。
初めてですか？
My first time.
どう思いますか？たくさん。
考え的には、日本とアメリカ両方で育ってたんで、考え方は多分、アメリカの方では多分あったと思うんですけど、日本ではね、SDG とかそういう話もまだまだ今からなんで、まだ伝わってない人は日本の目線からしたらあるのかなとは少し思ってます。So, both, I think from a standpoint of like being a global citizen, it's probably way more out there. And then from a Japanese standpoint, in the inakas and stuff like that, I think because for survival purposes, it makes sense. But from city life purposes, I think it's the complete opposite way of thinking, as you mentioned before. So I could see it both ways. From my personal point of view, it makes a lot of sense, at least for us to maintain survival instincts and to survive in general.
And I have one friend on the call as well who doesn't speak Japanese, named Rachel, who is also living at Sunrise Ranch. And so if some of the discussion is a little bit in English, I think that she would probably appreciate that. Who else? Do we have anybody who doesn't speak English on the call? So we can have the discussion in English or Japanese, but I'm curious about your own experience with the plateau phenomenon, プラトー現象. Is there a place in your own life, maybe unrelated to permaculture, と関係はなくても, where you are level and want to go through? And do you have an experience of breaking through? Anybody like to share?
I didn't understand so well about your questions. Could you
Yeah, no problem.
ask us? Yeah.
Let me hear. Maybe your questions are more important. Aya-san, do you have any specific questions about permaculture or about your region of design or doing this? Unmute します。
Yeah, I have joined just in the almost the middle of the session, so yeah, I'm still wondering. I have already asked questions when I was in the previous session, so. Yeah, but it's always, yeah, I want to start to do the permaculture in my life. And then I know this takes time to create this permaculture place. But in generally, how many years it's necessary? You said that last time that we can start small, but it's like as an image, like. Sorry, that telephone call is coming. So.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. And how about Atre, Denmark?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
I just joined. Good morning from Denmark, and I've been interested in permaculture because it's quite popular in Denmark, and also because I'm working for establishing international food academy in Denmark, my area Lolland. And permaculture is one of the very important issue for us. So that's why I joined today, and I'm a friend of Kiho-san. And Kiho-san is very kind to introduce this meeting today. So I'm so glad to join today. But because I heard I had an urgent meeting this morning, so then I just joined now. But I'm quite exciting to hear and discuss about what permaculture is and what you are doing and what the other people are doing.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Kiho-san, for bringing permaculture to Japan and for introducing me to some of your friends. I really appreciate it.
So Patrick, why not introducing your activities in Colorado together with Rachel? We do have quite interest in what you are doing.
Yeah. Let's see. I wonder if Rachel is listening or if she's just got it on. So we live in an intentional community, Sunrise Ranch. About 80 people live here together. It's one of the oldest communities in the country. So it started in the 1930s and 1940s. And let's see if I have I could screen share. Well, yeah, and so it is elders. There's older people living here, but then there's also mid-range and also some families. And when you live in the community, you typically work in either the farm or the kitchen or with the events, because we have a an events business, and we host groups to do retreats, but it's also a spiritual community. So because it's been around for so long, and yes, it values growing food and it values self-sufficiency and sustainability, but it also values the need for people to work together and the need for people to be mature and grow. And so there's a spiritual component of how to be the best me I can be, and to stay connected to source, and to be very authentic in my world. And so we have weekly gatherings as a community. We gather together and speak about this, and we have like I said, the groups will come and they'll experience Sunrise Ranch. So they might come for a week and do a yoga retreat or a spiritual retreat, and they will eat the food that we have grown here on the farm, and they'll stay in our accommodations. And we also host our own events and classes, and we are going to be having an online educational platform that's going to be launched very soon, where I could say, for example, teach a permaculture class online, or somebody from the spiritual program could present a spiritual component. And I'm wondering, I'd love to get Rachel on here. I don't know if she's wanting to put her mic or her video on, because she's very involved with the global outreach, and she was the one who originally connected me to Kiho-san via another conference that was happening over there. And we do most of our meals together. Since COVID, we have been doing less, but we will still do lunches together. And most people, when they work, all of the money earned from the community goes to one big pot, one big collection. And then people get their monthly stipend. It's small, but you don't have to pay rent, or you don't have to buy your food. The community takes care of those things. And so you're not just an individual when you live in community. You're a part of a greater network. And we buy groceries in bulk. So we grow a lot of food, our meat and our produce and our eggs, but we also buy grains and dairy and such. And when we buy that, then we can save on packaging, save on cost, and then distribute to more people. So if people can work together, right, which is the hard part, if people can work together, then there's a lot of benefit to living in community, a benefit to the earth. Like the logistics of being a human works well in community space. Any more questions about my community or about permaculture?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Probably I missed, but how big your community, and when you said it started? Sorry, maybe I missed, because my dog is disturbing me so much, but she.
Yeah, so it started in around 1940, so 70, 80 years ago. And right now there's about 70 people living here. So it's pretty good size, pretty big. And there are, maybe 12 little kids, a few families and parents. And then there's a few older people in the community as well. And we do a morning meditation together every morning. We meet and either sing or chant or pray or say something inspiring. Yeah, it's a nice place. It's a nice place. You're all welcome. Anytime, come visit.
It sounds very nice.
Is it proper for your community, and is it all based upon the concept of the permaculture, or because permaculture is quite global, Europe, Asia, Australia, Japan? What you are explaining is quite particular in your community, or it's based upon certain concept?
Yeah. So everybody in the community values good food. Everybody values sustainability and wants to be self-sufficient. The philosophy of permaculture, not everybody is aware of. It's still kind of new, and so it's something that I slowly am introducing to the community, but I think anytime you have a group of people come together and grow food, even if it's like normal agriculture, futsu no nogyo, right? Maybe it's not a food forest or a perennial system, but maybe it's just regular agriculture. I still consider that working toward permaculture, because it's people working together and growing food. And that's actually more important than the technique of how the food is being grown. Figuring out how all of us together can take care of each other is going to become more and more important, I think, as resources become scarce, or as the pandemic grows. All of these different vulnerabilities to society, the safety net to culture now is to grow food with our neighbors.
For example, you have explained to us about some permaculture movement in Japan, Fujino something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find out the similar concept in Japanese permaculture movement?
Yeah, very similar. And the reason, I think, is because of the origin of the education. So Bill Mollison introduced permaculture to these different places. Like, he planted a tane all over in different countries, and they've grown. And so the language, the imagery, the kangai kata for all of these places is very similar. So permaculture is, but it's also unique to the place. And so there's an expression. It says, maybe you've heard, you can give a person a fish and feed him a day. You can teach him to fish and feed him for a lifetime. But the next level is, you can teach somebody to think about fishing. And in that case, they can become successful anywhere. If you just teach them how to fish, you're teaching them how to fish in a very specific climate, lake or river, and that's less valuable than the meta layer of thinking about fishing. And so permaculture, it's not an exact technique. Like, you have to grow this type of tree with this type of plant and this type of animal. It's not a prescription like that. It's more a style of thinking that says, okay, grow what you like, but the idea is that the nutrients from the tree's leaves should stay on the ground and become fertilizer for that tree, and should become mulch for the soil beneath it. And that's a nutrient cycle. And it should have lots of ways to get water. These are ways of thinking about agriculture that are going to become important as we as we continue to try to live as humans on the planet.
Do you have any message to Japanese fellows,
To the fields?
Japanese people?
Oh,
Us. Any message?
yeah. Well, like I said in my presentation, while I think permaculture is important, I realize not everybody is a farmer and not everybody is necessarily interested in growing food. And so my message is more about growing people and how we grow and improve with each other. And I have found personally that when I observe nature, and the example in the presentation was observing Jupiter and the moon, but I find this when I go to the forest or go to the ocean, and I encourage you to do the same, that there's information in nature. And when we open ourselves up to the information, we grow and we gain new capacities and we gain new insights. And then we can apply that to wherever we are in our world. We can apply that in our business. We can apply that in our marriage. We can apply that in the skills that we want to learn, whether it's music or juggling and such. And so that's my ultimate message, is that through observing nature and also by playing with juggling balls or by playing with each other, we actually become smarter. We become we gain insight that is then going to help us become a responsible culture and an ethical society. So I'm not necessarily saying everybody must do permaculture. That's not my message. My message is that the answers to growing healthy people exist in nature. That's my message to Japanese people.
I think it's very interesting to hear your message, because I think it's very similar to the thoughts from Zen Buddhism. I've been learning Zen Buddhism in this year, and that's the kind of same message our teacher monk is saying, and also we are discussing and practicing. So it's I think it's interesting, but I think it's also very natural in thinking that way, both permaculture and Zen Buddhism.
Is this, I'm not sure if Atsuko is on her phone or computer. If that's the Atsuko I think it is, then maybe she's an old friend from my college days. Maybe she wants to show her face. If not, that's okay. Great.
She did raise her hand. It might be her.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's a wave.
It could be.
Oh, it is.
Hi.
Hisashiburi.
久しぶり。
聞いてくれてありがとう、Atsuko-chan. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for sharing your experiment. Your story. It was so nice to hear.
Yeah, Atsuko and I went to college together here in Colorado. She came and did a study abroad, and we met back then, and we have stayed in contact. Yeah. Well, Tak, thanks for hosting the session. And
Of course.
I mean, we don't need to draw it out longer than it needs to be. If we want to wrap up, I'm sure that's fine for folks. And
Yeah, if anyone has any further question, 皆さん他にご質問などあれば、今まだ時間はありますので、ぜひお聞きください。話したくない場合はチャットとかでも大丈夫ですし、if you guys don't feel comfortable talking, feel free to put it on the chat. Again, as Patrick said, no need to extend it, but we do have the time. I know it's late for you, Patrick. Thanks for staying up so late. We appreciate you. So feel free to chat along. We do have a networking space as well. 皆さんネット会場もあるので、こちらでご質問したくない場合はネットワーキング会場の方で皆さんと交流しても大丈夫ですので、もしよかったらそちらの方もリンクをお送りしますので。I'm gonna send a link for that. こちらの先ほどのランディングページのリンクなので、こちらを使っていただければ、次のセッション、ヘルスケアのセッションもありますし、あとネットワーキング会場のリンクもあるので、そちらに移動していただければと思います。The following link is where you probably came into this session. So you can use that link to go to our next session, which is about healthcare, or you can follow us along to the networking space. I'll be there as well. You can connect with me. But in the meantime, we have about 5 more minutes. So Patrick, any, I guess, closing words or anything you want to ask people on the other end from your side, since we do have about 5 more minutes, but it's up to you.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I'll encourage you all to get yourself some juggling balls. This has been a life skill that I find so useful. Anytime I'm stressed or anytime I want to learn something new, to learn a little 3-ball pattern, I highly recommend it. I actually teach middle schoolers as well, circus arts, and it's because I feel so passionately about the effect on the brain that when we use our brain with this type of thing, it opens up our capacities for other places. So I have a quick trick for all of you. If you're sitting down, if you lift your right foot up just a little bit off the ground and rotate your foot in a circle, okay? In a clockwise circle, okay? So with your foot, rotate it in a clockwise circle. And then on your hand, draw the number 6 and see what happens to your foot. Keep doing it while you're spinning your foot in a clockwise circle like this. Oh, let's see. Just a simple brain scrambler to try to control your body and your mind at the same time. And I would encourage you, maybe you saw a picture today on my slideshow, or even just meeting me. I'm a new face, I'm a new person in your world. It changes you. You're a little bit changed from when you came into the session. And so apply that. Find a hobby or your work, someplace maybe where you had a plateau, and try again. Now that you have had a new experience, revisit the things that you had a plateau in, and maybe there'll be some room for improvement because your mind has expanded a little bit. So I think that those will be my parting words. And again, just lots of appreciation for Kiho-san for bringing me into this circle, and for Tak for being so welcoming. You're a great host and you're doing a good job.
Before you do go, though, I'll try to do an even better job. Simba has a question. He's asking, what do you think of co-living in general?
Okay, sure. It's, as opposed to what, right? Like alone living? What a miserable life. And I know you're probably speaking specifically about co-living, like co-residences. But I think in general, humans are such social creatures, and we need each other. And the most beautiful thing about co-living in a community, I think, is the intergeneration. I can speak with people who are older than me and with younger than me, and not just brief acquaintances, but I can go deep and I can have deep, meaningful conversations. And that's something that normal society doesn't usually have. Usually you have your friend group or your peers or your work group, and maybe they're a similar age. But in co-living, you have the variety of ages, and getting the wisdom from the elders and then being a mentor to the youth is, in my opinion, a very useful thing. And yeah, so thanks, Simba, for that question.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, for sure. I think we see that a lot of parallels that where we're building a community here in Tokyo too. We try to pride ourselves in being as open and inclusive and flat as possible too, but the age difference, the age gap, I think having students along with the retirees and stuff in one place each and every Thursday makes for an even more fruitful place. There's another person who's doing co-living too, it says, with 4 other people. So it's similar to share house on the chat. So that's great as well. So thank you for sharing that, Patrick. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's my passion and it's my pleasure. And I'm so happy to have got to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Everyone, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll be moving right along. I see there's no other further questions. Again, I will be moving on to the virtual networking space. If you guys want to follow me there, it's on a platform called Remo. We do recommend that you use Google Chrome in that sense to network with one another. And then if not, thank you again to Patrick for his session. Have a great night or great morning, and we hope to see you back soon. Thanks, everybody.